The show. We are pleased to be joined right now by SU's Director of Athletics, John Wildhack. And John, always great to chat with you. Congrats on the 1-0 start to this football team. What were your impressions from the opener on Saturday?
Thanks, Steve and Paulie. Good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me on. Really good to start with a win. Obviously, the offense, looked really good. Kyle threw it great, and the receivers did a great job. Offensive line gave him time. LeQuint, later in the game, we started pounding the rock a little bit with LeQuint, had success there. As Coach France said, obviously, the biggest area we need to shore up is the run defense and shore it up quickly, because we saw what Georgia Tech did to Florida State week 1 and what they did to Georgia State on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Florida State play again last night. BC did the same thing. When you look around the ACC right now, John, it does seem like it's kind of wide open. I mean, when you look around, do you say, why not Syracuse?
There's a lot of good teams in this conference, Steve. I really believe that, and I think the conference is probably undervalued a little bit nationally. We may not have that dominant team, but there's a lot of good teams. BC looked great last night. Obviously, we'll continue to get better. Louisville's good. Clemson, they'll bounce back from Georgia. They were there for a half, and second half got away from them. SMU's good. There's every week is going to be really, really interesting in this league, and obviously. We've got a stiff test on Saturday with Georgia Tech coming in.
So you say the ACC is even. What do you make of what's going on with the ACC right now? Are you confident in the product of the ACC, and do you think it's long-term viable?
I do, Paulie, and I think you look at this year. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks in our league. We've got tremendous quarterbacks. Our quarterback depth is as good as any conference in the country. I think the conference is very viable long term. Obviously we know what's going on with the suits, and those are a distraction. But that hasn't stopped Jim Phillips or his staff. We continue to look to build the overall brand of the ACC. I'm pleased that we're a member of the ACC. You look at all sports over the past 3 years, the ACC's won more national championships than any other conference in the country. We have teams in the men's and women's Final Four every year. We got to get back in the college football playoff, and obviously our conference champion will get an automatic bid. But you want to get at least 2 teams in.
You mentioned the stellar quarterback play in this conference, and some of the big name quarterbacks that are here, and Kyle McCord obviously among them, and got off to a great start against Ohio. The way things work this day and age, John, we know that it takes some NIL money, right, to attract those quarterbacks to the league. Can you speak to kind of where things stand right now with NIL as it pertains to Syracuse?
Yeah, we've made nice progress, Steve, over the past 9 months this year. But there's more work to be done. We need to do even better in this space. You mentioned Kyle. He's not here unless we have, NIL opportunities for him. Fadil Diggs is not here, and he had a great second half unless there's NIL opportunities for him. I got to straighten my pin here. Sorry, guys. Unless there's NIL opportunities here. So, I'm very grateful for the donors and in companies. We've had some companies step up. We need more corporate support, to be quite candid, with NIL to get it where we need to be. What Feldmeyer is done and what Colby Clark has done, their support has been tremendous, and we need more companies to really lean in to support our NIL efforts like Feldmeyer and Colby has, because if we do, we've got the coaches that can recruit. And whether that's Fran and his staff, Adrian and his staff, Felicia and her staff, we have the coaches that can recruit. So we need to be competitive in this space. And again, we made progress, but we need to make more progress, and we really need corporate support from the Central New York area, Western New York, Upstate New York region.
John, how much more difficult has this made your job with NIL, and how much more important is winning now with NIL?
It makes it a lot harder for everybody. it's really, really complicated, but it's here, and you've got to adapt and adjust to it. And again, try to position us in the best position possible. And that's, every school's dealing with that. So yeah, it's made it a heck of a lot harder, but that's the world that we live in, Paulie. So to me, you've got to embrace it, and you've got to go after it, and you got to get it. And I think if we get that support, again, we have the coaches.
And along those lines, I mean, you said that some improvements have been made in the NIL space over the course of the last 9 months. I would assume that some of that has to do with the hiring of Fran Brown and the buzz that he's created. And, I mean, can you, I guess, speak to how this community has gotten behind this particular coaching staff? And to Paulie's point, it's important to win. And if you're able to win in year one, you just wonder if that momentum will kind of take off from here.
Well, it's really important to win, right? Because when you win, it makes it it's a more attractive product, right? When I'm pitching people about supporting our NIL, if I can do it after a win, it's a more compelling pitch. There's no question about that. I think the community is really embraced Coach Fran, this team, and his staff. He's embraced this community as well, and it was really cool to see the quad walk on Saturday. I thought that was really, really good. Great turnout. It'll be 9:45 a.m. This Saturday. But we need the community support, and we need corporate support, and we definitely need more of that. But we also need individuals in the community. Come to a game, come to the Dome, bring your friends, bring your family. I think the Dome, it looks great. The reviews of the new seating have been spectacular. The wayfinding in there it helps people get around the Dome better. AT&T will be on board with 5G this weekend, so that'll be AT&T and Verizon. So the experience, the fan experience in the Dome has changed dramatically over the past couple of years.
One of the things that's different too with Coach Fran Brown being here is it seems like he's really welcomed the alums back into the program and with open arms. And there's going to be a pretty big alum back on campus this weekend. Dwight Freeney is going to have his jersey retired. Can you speak to, I guess, the larger point of bringing the alums back into the fold, and then, look at Saturday and what Dwight Freeney's meant to this program, and to kind of get, him honored in a way that is probably been long overdue. Can you speak to that as well?
Sure, Steve. The connectivity with the alumni is critical for any of our programs, and Fran's done a great job with that. And I'll give you an example. Joe Burton, he's really the founder of SU Football NIL, and Joe hit it off with Fran, and Joe's been incredibly supportive in other alums as well in terms of our NIL efforts for football and SU Football NIL. Dwight Freeney, one of the greatest players ever, without question, obviously went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame last month. And just a class act. I called him and I spoke to him the day before his Pro Football Hall of Fame induction. We had a great conversation for about 15 minutes. Just a great guy. We had him back on campus. It'll be really good to have he and his family here. And he had the ability to change a game. He was that good. And he was that impactful, as he single-handedly could change the momentum of a game. And he did it here when he's at Syracuse, and he did it for a number of years with the Colts.
Yeah, top 25 all time in the NFL in terms of career sacks. And as long as we're talking about recognizing, important figures in Syracuse football history, the decision was made recently to honor Coach Mack during the UConn game to add him to the Ring of Honor. Can you speak to that decision? And obviously the Ring of Honor came along, after Coach Mack had passed away, but, his family's still connected with the university. What's that going to mean to give Coach Mack his day in November?
Well, he's incredibly well deserving, and Coach Mack took a program that had been struggling, and he really put us on a path where he had 15, 20 years of sustained success, and he's the one who built that. He was the architect of that program in the mid to late 80s that carried through the 90s and into the early 2000s. The other thing about Mack is the impact that he had on his players, beloved by his former players. And I thought Don McPherson's quote last week captured that perfectly from the players that Mack coached. And also, similar to Fran, how he connected with the community. Mac in this community, there was, he was beloved and he loved the community. So there was that connectivity as well. And when you look at the other coaches in the Ring of Honor, Coach Boeheim, Coach Simmons, Coach Schwartzwalder, Coach Max in the College Football Hall of Fame, obviously the highlight here, the 87 undefeated season, he's deserving to be alongside those other coaches.
John, one more question from me. There's a lot of construction going on up at the Dome. I was wondering maybe if you could explain what that is to everybody that doesn't know and what the progress of it is.
It's Myron Victory Court, and it's obviously the East End zone. And it'll be done probably late October is the goal. But it's going to be a tremendous facility. It's like 25,000 square feet. It will be entirely enclosed. It'll be a tremendous area for our fans to gather pregame, whether it's for football, whether it's basketballs, lacrosses. It'll also be used. It'll be a great event space, and it'll be great space for our campus community to use throughout the week as well. So I walked it a couple weeks ago with Pete Sala. It's going to be a great addition. And again, it's something that will continue to enhance our fan experience.
John, one more question from me regarding NIL, just to circle back what we were talking to a little bit earlier. You mentioned that you're looking for some more corporate support and just more support from the community at large. If somebody's interested, let's say a company's listening right now, somebody who runs a company, and they say, you know what, I'd like to get involved. What do they need to do? Who should they reach out to for more information? How does that whole process go?
Well, they can reach out directly to Jenna Rogers, who oversees our NIL program. They can reach out directly to me, and I'll connect people. But we have 3 entities in this space: Athletes Who Care, started by Cliff Ensley and Howie Fansteel, 2 trustees. AWCs, they've got their 501c3, so they kind of match athletes with nonprofits throughout the region. And then there's community service. It's done by our athletes, whether it's football, basketball, lacrosses, SU Football NIL, Joe Burton. So the website is sufootballnil.com. And then we have Orange United, and Orange United is kind of the grassroots, right? Where, okay, I may not have the capacity to be a large donor, but I can do $20 a month, $30, $40 a month. That adds up if we get enough people to do that. And the website there is orangeunited.com.
All right, a lot of different avenues to get involved. And I guess just final question for you as we look ahead to Georgia Tech. What the attendance for Ohio was like 37-38. Big-time opponent coming here, most likely going to be ranked. What are you expecting to see attendance-wise come Saturday at noon?
We're slightly ahead of where we were for Ohio last week at this time. So there's still, a lot of really good tickets left. And I would hope off of last week's performance, obviously with Georgia Tech coming in here 2-0, it's a really, really big game. And, we need the Dome to be full. We need the crowd to be really loud, just not on third down when we're on defense, but first and second down, because it can have an impact on the outcome of the game. So, I'm asking for Orange Nation to really come out, support Coach Fran, support our team, and they can make a difference.
All right, John. It's always a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks for giving us a few minutes today. We'll see you inside the Dome on Saturday.
Thanks, guys. My pleasure. Go Orange.